If you ever wanted to know what camera I use for my videos, here it is. Hello friends, family, nobodies, whomever you are. Anyway, I'm just gonna get kinda my brain in order to discuss this issue with you all. Talking about an SDTV, an SD, and where it's going and what's happening with these whole SD reformed videos, which I have so passionately been making, uploading the third episode right now as I'm filming this. And where to start? Really, simply put, it's just for a bit of fun, a bit of editing practice, a bit of leisurely things that are pretty productive to do, which is editing and uploading videos, hoping to entertain, hoping to make aware my spiritual situation to my people, I guess. And that's kind of the thing that has been plaguing me for the past, oh gosh, I mean, I'm talking 6 months, 7 months. Heck, it's probably been 12 months, if not more. It might have been 2 years even. At this point, I have lost track of how long my spiritual situation was downhill for at least 3 months, steadily. And my relationship with others was strained due to it, directly due to that situation. My work was strained due to that. And I look back on those times and I am truly disappointed and truly ashamed of what I've put people through for the sake of what? Just looking back at an SD, I don't see myself in it. My head hurts right now from editing so much, trying to reform it, reforming an SD. And this whole concept came on a whim. I didn't really think much about it, I didn't put too much thought into it. The name alone, an SD Reformed, has been around since October or so. And it was only until this month, we're almost 2 weeks in, that I decided to put this project out there, and what I call it, an SD Reformed, due to the fact that I myself am reforming every day now, and I'm seeing the difference. It's day and night in almost every aspect. And to all those out there who were affected by the hyperdox period, I do apologize. I spiritually apologize to work, and above all to God, because I just don't know. I don't know. I'm like Aristotle or whoever, saying I'm the wisest man in Greece because I do not know. But it's true, I really don't. I don't know where to begin, except with that. That period in life, and I don't think most of you know this or realize it, but that period almost destroyed my relationships with, well, several people. And let's talk about it. Let's let I myself kind of for a moment put aside Amnesty Reformed to sort of go through the categories here. The first is, of course, I've been saying hyperdoxy. And being hyperdox is, well, it's stupid, okay? This is Hyperdox Herman, the meme which I've been posting, a sort of meme that found its way to Facebook through this guy who's an Orthodox Christian, who, an Orthodox person, who, I don't know him, I don't know much about him. I looked it up one day because I heard it from this guy's videos, the Orthodox lunatic, who inspired at least one of my videos. But hyperdoxy is simply the sort of pointless, I'd call it pointless, obsession with orthodoxy. And to such a point where everything you do has to be orthodox, everything you think has to be orthodox, everything you believe has to be orthodox, and all this stuff. And it just gets, it wears you down. It's cancerous almost. In the spiritual sense, of course, it is. When you experience it, let me know, because I can help you with that. I mean, it truly, I know I'm saying truly quite a bit, but it really is, it's like a tumor. It won't stop growing until you stop it. You have to use force. You either remove it or you radiate it, and that's what God had to do in my heart. And the whys and hows of whens of what this was aren't really too important per se, but what matters is that I'm being changed, and it's a process. It really is. Faith is a process. Life is a thing which, from day to day, it moves. It even if it seems like it's stopped or just the same thing every day, like Groundhog Day, it is really just kind of it rolls along. And as a human, you have to decide each day what spiritual path you're going to take. And this is something that I have to learn personally. And I have to realize that, my spiritual path has nothing to do with anyone else's. And that's sort of it's a comforting thought, because I don't have to push what I'm experiencing spiritually onto anyone. That doesn't mean that I don't believe that Christ is the only way. He is. He said it himself. But the difference now is that I trust Him. I don't need this institution to fight for something, be a warrior for something which is not Christ Himself. It's very dangerous to put something before the Almighty. It really is. Anything. Whether, I could make a list, but you get it. It's truly dangerous. And so orthodoxy, for many people, that happens to them. They allow it. They push it. And I could go on and on about the various details of what that looks like. but suffice it to say that it is destructive to relationships, to faith, to well-being of yourself, to your physical well-being even. It just mentally wears you down. It burdens your soul. It doesn't give you the easy yoke of Christ. And that's where I'm at. I'm at the kind of the top of the hill looking. You know, I got 360 all around. I can go and down any which way I want. But I have to choose wisely, of course. We all do. And looking at orthodoxy itself, I ask, is that really worth it? Do I blend well with orthodoxy? Do I mix with it well? Am I suitable for it? Or am I mentally unstable enough to where it becomes too much? In fact, again, with the Orthodox lunatic, who calls himself a lunatic, he's had some problems. That's his story to tell. But he made a video talking about his autistic obsession with orthodoxy. And I couldn't help but wonder if that's what I was. I mean, it matches up. It lines up perfectly. I had some sort of almost autistic-like obsession with it. Not to offend anyone who has a loved one who has autism, but those are the traits of latching on to one thing. Has to be that one thing. Even just talking about it, it's exhausting, okay? And I think that's that spirit of burden, if anything, you know, it's a heaviness. And at first, let's go back to 2014 for a second. When I lost faith in the Lord in 2014, and it's not a big secret or anything, but depending on who you are, you probably don't even know about it. It also does not matter too much, but what matters is that I was at a point where, I mean, it really does matter, but to this story, it was June 2014, and I needed to find something. We traveled to England, and I got to see the very beautiful Canterbury Cathedral. And so, seeing that, something that man made for God's glory alone, I mean, we're talking just a church building purely for one thing, well, multiple things, but you know, one God. And I guess that sort of, it struck a chord, and I was never the same. I really wasn't, because from that moment on, I started kind of searching a little bit. I started reading about orthodoxy and stuff, about I guess the high church stuff, Catholicism, orthodoxy, not so much Anglicanism, but it's very similar to Catholicism. So I started on that sort of path of research and reading. And I tell people at my parish this, you know, they asked about it, a few different people, and I told them this. I don't really remember, but what I do remember is that I was reading and go online and do research about it, and that's what brought me here. And they thought that was just the grandest thing ever. You know, oh wow, all of them were cradle Orthodox, basically. A couple of them weren't, but they still were surprised at that. Was posting here, but through 2014 I kind of went through some phases of still wondering, and I wasn't set on orthodoxy right away. In August 2014 I momentarily converted to Islam, and I never said the Shahada to a person per se. I never I never was in the presence of anyone speaking it. But I believed in my heart, as far as I knew, that I was now a servant of God, of Allah. And it's crazy. Most don't know that either. But it was real. And if I use that as sort of a reference point, early August, even into early September 2014, of converting to something, it's that I really did think that was it. It's not going to get any better than this. I've found the truth. I've found God again, or for truly this time. But only in that moment, only in the short month it was, perhaps. And I don't remember much during that, from that point till, had to have been March, April, May or so, up to May 2015. Spiritually, I do remember in January 2015 doing more reading, this time actually comparing Protestantism to Orthodoxy specifically. Again, I don't know why, but it was at that point I did that. And I guess I just settled on sort of neither. I think by March or so, I was thinking Orthodoxy seemed good, so I'll just kind of stick with that. But I had never stepped foot in a parish. I had never spoken to anybody Orthodox that I was aware of. Although I did have a class with a girl who turned out to be Orthodox. So that was interesting, but by May 2015, I had pretty much figured, I kind of didn't think about it much through May, but it was on May 28th, 2015 that I started an SCTV, and I guess it was that point where I said, yeah, I'm going to be Orthodox. And I remember June 6, 2015, I think it was June 6th, it might have been the 4th, but I had an epiphany, and I thought I would become a priest, oddly enough. And I still hadn't yet set foot in a parish even. I thought, hey, I'll be a priest. But thinking back to 2013 or so, when I knew, I felt called to be a preacher, speaker, if you will, and a minister for Christ. Even a pastor, really, ordained. I think that was the seed there, and so that just transferred over to Orthodoxy without much, I didn't need to know anything about Orthodoxy for the most part. I didn't need to experience it to say I'm going to be a priest. I just decided I'll be Orthodox, so therefore I'll be a priest. But as it turns out, we'll see if I do, pastor or priest. I mean, anyway, the other frame of reference I mentioned earlier was Islam. Converting to that, and in the first month I had that in my mind that I just kind of was so into it. I thought I was stuck on that. That was the truth. Allah spoke to Muhammad, and that was it. And that didn't last, of course, but that carried into Orthodoxy as well. The pastor dream, if you will, from 2012, 2013 carried into Orthodoxy, and so did the Muslim obsession or infatuation briefly there. It carried over too, so I had to be Orthodox, everything Orthodox, and priesthood. So it's kind of interesting how that kind of it's interesting how I draw connections between things, but it really does make sense to my mind. Um, but continuing the story, I just got into Orthodoxy and I started attending liturgy nearly weekly in about September of last year, and that continued for up till June 2016 this year, yeah. And it went downhill. In, yeah, I mean, I don't need to go too much into it, but basically, if I'm honest with myself and everyone, my obsession with Orthodoxy was what strained key relationships for a time and still to now. It was my selfish, orthodox, hyperdox, bogus. And that led on into September. And I think it was September 11th or so. It was a Sunday, I remember. I don't know, we went to a movie, me and my immediate family members here, and I was in a bad mood. It was actually, I think, a Saturday, because I thought I got back from work, but I was just in a bad mood about it. I'm working at this evangelical Christian store, this Protestant store. Oh, woe is me. No Orthodox this or that. And I couldn't see past that. And so it got to the point where I made my own mother question her salvation. And it's kind of ridiculous. But that's what happened, and I never thought I would talk about all this, but it really is. It's despicable. And now I'm at the point where I think I've been born again. Like, really. I think back to 2013 and I was a Christian, but even then it wasn't like, I look back and the reason that faith failed, if you will, was because it wasn't mine. I hadn't grown into it yet, and I was taught things by people who meant well, and but it wasn't me. It wasn't me connecting fully to God. I know I did, but it wasn't, the faith didn't match what could be. And I think only now is that actually happening. And Orthodoxy was it Orthodoxy itself or just hyperoxy? I don't know if it's what was wrong. I took it too far. Obviously, there are a lot of Orthodox who aren't like that, aren't like how I was, but there are those who are, and I'll be darned, I honestly, I don't know if I've seen a more mixed bag of people who have such wide array of values. I never would have thought that, and learning that on the mission trip that I took in July of this year, that was a turning point in my faith that just made hyperdoxy worse. When I saw how real Orthodox people actually are, which is a mixed bag, okay? My black or white mind couldn't handle it. And so it led to what I've just told you, and it was just a horrible time. And when I got my job, I mean, it wasn't good. So and friendships were strained, but they're gonna be better now. And I believe because only God could change a heart made of stone, you know? And I mean, I'm starting to see it. My interactions with coworkers and people. And these videos, I mean, good night, man. These videos have been a blessing, and they might seem kind of heavy-handed. You know, I'm just ripping into my old stuff, but I have to. This is, looking back, it's terrible. I can't do it. I have to. It's like my crusade now. But it's all fun for me, that doing those videos. So yeah, I think that covers it. It's changing now. Life is changing, and finding faith for real. So God bless you all. Merry Christmas as well. I mean, it's gonna be wonderful. And good night.